Hi, today is the first of many lessons about jazz standards. We're going to start around midnight, so in other words, very soon. I used to find it super hard to know what to do with a jazz standard. Anyone who can read music to some degree can navigate through any of the jazz standards that they can find in the real book, right? But how to lift it up to the next level? That is what I will do what I can to help you understand. So this video is one of many videos designed to help you better understand what is going on and how you can reproduce the same ideas and develop your own ideas. You know, I love to study jazz standards in depth, and once you start to geek out on the jazz standards, they can teach you so much too. So this video is the first of 3 videos dedicated to the A section of Thelonious Monk's Around Midnight, and you can follow along if you want. I'm soon ready now, but while we're waiting, why don't you spend 1 second hitting the subscribe button so you won't miss out on the upcoming Jazz Standards videos. Thank you, I appreciate it. Well, I also see that it's time now to get into the lesson. So now, let's play Around Midnight, and I'm going to show you a bunch of tips and tricks and exercises that you can apply to play in that tune. But not only that tune, you can also do that for a lot of other tunes as well, applying the same techniques and same exercises to other tunes as well. So the idea is that a lot of people, they don't know what to play between the notes when you play any jazz standard. For example, if you play Around Midnight, you have the sheet music from real book, but how do you play the tune? That's the question. And how do you build your repertoire of things to do to be able to play more freely? That's another question, and I'm going to try to answer that in this series of videos now. So that's going to be interesting, I hope. Now, first of all, let me play for you. I did a recording where I play Around Midnight, so let's listen to that quickly. So that was Around Midnight, the A part of Around Midnight, and we're going to spend 3 lessons on the A part, and I'm going to explain for you what I did, and more importantly, what you can practice in order to be able to play like that, and also try to understand the theory behind what I do. So I hope this is going to be interesting. So the first thing I want to speak about is that it's essential that you set your intention. So when you play a jazz standard, any jazz standard, have some sort of overview of what kind of sound you are going to go after, right? Are you going to make it easy listening? Maybe you're going to make it melancholic. Maybe you want to make it fun or funny. And maybe you want to make it dark. And you can insert your favorite adjective here. There is no right and wrong. The way I played, I think it was kind of dark and melancholic, but definitely not easy listening or fun in that way. That's something that I had in mind when I wanted to record that for you. But what I played was improvised. It was based on my experience as a jazz pianist for many years. So once you know what sound you're after, then the question is, how do you produce that sound? So for example, let's say you want to make Around Midnight a little bit dark and thoughtful and melancholic. Now you also need to keep in mind, and this is something that you always need to do, all of the 4 core elements. That's something I speak about a lot. And those are the melody, harmony, rhythm, and dynamics, right? And in my case, I wanted to make a clear melody where the harmony serves the melody. Because sometimes you listen to music and the melody is very disguised behind a lot of harmony. That was not my intention. The harmony, I wanted to make it dark, as I said, so you can make some dark chords or play some dark chords, and you can add some weird alterations or dissonant chords, which I did, and you can add some fresh reharmonizations as well. And for the dynamics, I like to keep it soft and open for the most part, but I play louder to make the dark parts stand out a little better sometimes. The rhythm is rubato in my case, but of course you can play it the style that you want. The idea now is that you get an overview and you get clarity about what you want and how others are playing the tunes. So that's the way I played it, right? You can play it your way. That's how it should be. And now, let's speak about the first 2 bars. There's a melody, and don't play it as it is written. So instead, work on how you're phrasing your melody. This is something I could repeat for any jazz standard we're going to speak about, but that's what I do, and I just play alone, just the melody solo, right? So instead of playing the melody as it's written, you can play. And think of how you want to phrase the melody. And now it's important to practice that on a small scale, and that means not that kind of scale, right? But you play just the intro, for example. Think of various ways you can play that melody. There are so many opportunities, but the idea is that you have an overview and that you have a clarity on what you want to do. So pay attention to what type of phrasing you're playing and what is going on rhythmically. Are you dragging out the notes? Are you playing it with swing 8s, or are you playing it completely rubato? Anything is fine as long as you are aware of what you're doing. That's the idea. Now, let's speak about the harmony. And I like to play a descending bass line, and that's what I did in my recording. So instead of playing it as it's written in the sheet, you can play a descending like this. So E flat minor to E flat minor / D, and then descending to D flat. And instead of using the harmony that's written down here, right, in the sheet, I like to play C minor 7 with a flat 5 to F7 with a flat 9 and sharp 11. Because that gives this dark sound, right? So now you have F7, flat 9, and then you have sharp 11 here, right? And F minor 7 with a flat 5 to B flat 7. That's just one way of rearranging and reharmonize slightly what's there from before, right? But what I think is equally as important is to be aware of how you are going to play the chords and be attentional about it. Are you playing the chords where you play all the notes simultaneously like this? Or are you playing it like a lot of people do, playing blam chords, which I call it, like this? Like that, right? You can also play splitted, right? So now I was splitting just with the melody and the remaining notes of the chords, right? And you can split, of course, with just the right hand and the left hand, for example, instead of playing it simultaneously. And now, ideally, and this is something I've said before, is that you should know your options and go all in on one thing and overdo and use that thing or element over and over. Be aware of how it will sound like if you play blam chords all the time. It's going to sound really crap, I think. And same thing if you play splitted. What if you play all the notes simultaneously? That's something that I suggest that you experiment with and be aware of how you play and be intentional about what you like and what you don't like. So now let's listen to the first 10 seconds and try to just look at how I'm playing the chords. Not which chords I'm playing, but how I'm phrasing the chords. As you can tell, I play the chords in many different ways, and this is something that you can call chord phrasing. Now let's move on to something very interesting, and that is bar 3 and bar 5, where you have an ascending melody. It goes like this, right? That's bar 3, and bar 5 is like this. And that is the chord itself, right? So you have the E flat 7, that's E flat 7 chord, and then A flat 7, minor, both of them, right? There is a nice trick I'm going to show you, and this is something that you can apply to those chords and similar chords, so let's have a look at that. And first thing I like to do is to rearrange and reharmonize. So instead of playing the E flat minor 7 like this, I like to play an C minor 7 flat 5 to F7 with a sharp 9. So instead of this, now it becomes like this. So here's an idea. That is to apply something I call chord splitting, and I'm going to show you some interesting exercises for that. And the first part of this exercise is to prepare your fingers for the chord splitting exercise so that you can execute the ideas while you're improvising. So the first thing to do is to play inversions of the chords. So you do that with your right hand only, and the melody is like this, right? And now this is an E flat minor 7 chord, so you play that up and down. And with your left hand, you play the C minor 7 with a flat 5, up and down. That is just to get to know the inversions so that you're ready for what comes next. So once you have done that, you can move on. Step 3 is to play both of them together, and that's going to sound like this. Alright, this is just an exercise for now, but bear with me, it's going to be a lot more interesting very soon. Because now in step 4, we're going to break up the chords. So you do that with the left hand first. Now you play like this. So that's nice, and then we're going to do the same with the right hand, of course, and that's going to sound like this. So now let's have a look at some patterns. I have written out 4 different examples. So the first one is where it goes up in both hands, and then it's down with the left hand and up with the right hand. Up with the right hand, down with the left hand, down with both hands. So let's have a look at the first one, and the remaining you can download for free on my website if you're interested. So the first one goes like this, from left to right with both hands. Like that. And then you move on, just different inversions, right? As I said, you can get the remaining, but the idea now is that you're going descending with your left hand and up with your right hand. For example, like this. You get the idea. And now let's listen one more time to how I played this pattern in the tune. This is just a 3-second clip, so let's listen to that. And once you have gone through these exercises, it's very easy to do what I just did. Moving on. As I said, you can apply the chord splitting technique also in bar 5. It's quite obvious to add it there as well once you're at it, right? So let's listen to how I apply that in the tune, and then we're going to speak about what happens next. So that was it, but we're going to speak about what happens next, because I ended on this one, which is a quite dissonant chord, right? And I explained that trick in this video. It's an old video of mine. It's called Jazz Piano Trick number 1. And people are asking, where is Jazz Piano Trick number 2? Well, there is just one trick. The thing is that this is the first trick I learned from one of my teachers, and that's why I call that video jazz trick number 1. Anyway, the usage is on diminished 7th chords, and that's too much to cover for this lesson, but I also use it on dominant 7th chords, and that's what we did in this tune, right? In the round minute tune. So here's the 6 steps exercise for you. It's quite fun, I think. Here you can play a C7. Right? If the chord is a C7, what you do is you move up the bottom note, and then you play a diminished 7 instead. That is the D flat diminished 7, but it's the same as the E diminished 7, and the same as the G diminished 7. I guess you know that already. But the fun part starts when you play that with triads. So the chord is still a C7, right? So what you do is you play with your right hand, you play like this. That's a C triad in second inversion. So root position, first inversion, and second inversion. And down here, now you play it down here. And then you move that up in minor 3rd steps. So now it's going to be above C diminished 7th chord, like this. So you move that up in minor 3rd steps. Like that. And of course then I guess you know what you do next, that is to combine those, right? So left hand and right hand. We can build on that. So instead of playing it ascending and descending like I did now, what you can do is you can skip every other note like this. So that's step 4, and step 5 is to do the same principle now with your right hand. So what you do then is to do the same thing. So now instead of going up here, now you move up a tritone, and then same goes for this one, right? So. And then, of course, the last step is to combine these. And ideally, you should be able to do this without looking at the sheet's music, right? You also need to practice this in 3 variations. So you're starting on C7 like I did now. And once you've done that, you should do D flat 7 and D7. And of course, as I said, everything will repeat itself. So E flat 7 is going to be the same as the C7. If you're one of my students, by the way, you can download. I've written out everything in great detail for you. So if you're one of my students, you can find that in the download section, or if you are one of my supporters. Now, moving on, we're going to play a 6-second clip this time, showing where I used the jazz trick number 1 twice. So let's listen to that. So because I have done these exercises, right, it's fairly easy for me now to play this chord and do something else, right? And then coming up with the same voicing on the spot, on the fly, right? This was not planned. So now you can play this version, which is the same as this one, right? If I move this down, if I did the skipping exercise correctly, it's fairly easy to do that. And once you have done these exercises, it's going to give you a lot of power to play freely and apply this way of playing to a lot of jazz standards. The last thing I want to show you today is an element that you can apply to bar 4, where you play 2-5 progressions. So B minor 7 to E7, and B flat minor 7 to E flat 7. The original melody was like this. And that's not how I played it. So let's listen to now how I played it. Let's listen from the start and the first 20 seconds. And there I apply something I call chord splitting. So let's listen to that. So, did you see what I did on the 2-5 progressions? If not, let's play that one more time, the last part. So what I did is I added some triplet chord splitting to the tune. It's just my name for saying that we're gonna split the chord into triplets. And the first thing I would suggest you do, if you haven't done it, is to play it through the cycle of 2 5s. In this case, it's going to be a D minor 7 to G7 and going down chromatically. And then up here. And so on and so forth. And then you try to apply the splitting, where you split what you just played into triplets. And in this case, it's going to be D minor 7 to G7, the same chords. And now you're going to split it, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And what you can also do is to tweak the dominant 7th chords. So instead of playing the D minor 7 to G7, you play a G13. It's going to be a little bit more crisp. And it's also very easy because now you just move everything down chromatically like this. So once you have learned these exercises, the next step, of course, is to play it in around midnight. But I also suggest, and this is super important, I think, whenever you learn a new element like this one, then you should test them out elsewhere and many other tunes. For example, All the Things You Are. This element you can play on the B part. That was All the Things You Are and all the things for this lesson. It is now way beyond midnight here, so thank you for staying until the end. There's a lot more I will show you coming around midnight in about 2 weeks from today, so if you can stay up late also then I'll see you in the next lesson. Check the link in the description if you want a sheet with various assignments. So have a good night and take care of your music.